The Jersey Devil. You know him, and you love him. He's that big, giant, demon-looking monster thing that supposedly stalks the woods of the New Jersey Pine Barrens. There are about a bajillion different YouTube videos and podcasts out there about the devil and his origin stories and his history, but what I want to know is what did people actually think about the Jersey Devil back when the legend was much more prominent? Like, what did the newspapers say about the devil? Were people actually scared of it? What did they think it looked like? Well, that is what I'm here to show you today. I want to talk about the year 1909, without a doubt the most prolific year in the history of the Jersey Devil. See, early in January of that year, a few people started reporting weird animal tracks in the snow around their house, and then boom, like wildfire, people all over New Jersey were claiming to have seen the monster, found the monster, and even been attacked by the monster. Like, let me tell you, there are some absolute gems out there in those small-time local New Jersey newspapers that really, really deserve some recognition today. So let's talk about a few of them. Now, if you have never heard of the Jersey Devil before, that's totally cool. All you gotta know for this video is that he's this big monster that supposedly lives in the Jersey Pine Barrens. There are a whole bunch of different stories out there about where he came from and how old he is and if he's dangerous or not, and between all the stories, absolutely nobody can agree on what the devil looks like. And that was never more apparent than in 1909. Every single person claiming to have seen the devil had a different physical description of it, which led to the newspapers presenting a whole lot of absolutely amazing drawings to us of how it was supposed to have looked. Like, just feast your eyes on some of these. Like, all of these are based on a real person's description of how the devil looked. Like, sometimes it's got feathers, sometimes scales, and sometimes it looks like a bird, and sometimes a bat, and sometimes a goat, and this drawing in particular here is actually from one of the first reported eyewitness sightings of the devil. On January 21st, 1909, a Mr. and Mrs. Evans claimed to have looked out their window around 2 a.m. and spotted the little devil hopping around on the roof of their shed. According to them, it only stood about 2 feet tall and kind of looked like a kangaroo with feathers and the face of a horse. So Mr. Evans ran to go and get his gun, but before he could come back and try to shoot the thing, the devil flapped its wings and flew away with the sound of a wood saw. And this is how most of the sightings early in the year went. You know, people saying that they just saw the devil for a couple seconds looming in the woods or something, and then it disappeared. But it didn't take long for some pretty insane stories to start popping up too. Like, for example, here's a pretty crazy story from the Camden, New Jersey Morning Post. At around 7 p.m., a lady named Mrs. Sorbisky let her dog out into the yard. And then she went back into her house, minding her old business, didn't think anything of it, until she heard some ear-splitting screams emanating out from the backyard. So she rushes back outside, and there, right in front of her, is the Jersey Devil squeezing her little dog in its claws like a vice. So what does Mrs. Sorbisky do when she's faced with such a horrific demon? Why, she springs into action, of course. She grabs a broom handle and she sprints out into the yard and she chases that devil away from her beloved pet. And as the monster lets go of the dog and begins to flap its wings, it emits a horrible cry akin to a cross between the hoot of an owl and the snarl of a hyena as it disappears into the black of the night. Apparently, that little dog was knocked out cold, but he was okay once he woke up. It's pretty crazy how involved that story is, right? Like, there's just so much interaction between the devil and the witness. But what's even crazier is that we're just getting started. Like, that's not even close to the weirdest Jersey Devil story that I could find. Like, how about this one, where a police officer said that the Jersey Devil actually sprang out of the night and attacked him. Like, he's saying that he was literally on the ground, like, wrestling with the devil before it broke out of his grip and ran away. The best part of this article is that the cops' only physical description of the devil is that it looked like an open umbrella pressed up against a fence. Here's another good one where a guy supposedly got attacked by the devil. We got a farmer here named Dan Posick who said that he was doing some chores at his home in Millville, New Jersey, when he heard a voice calling his name. So he went into his backyard, and there was the Jersey Devil yet again, standing 18 feet tall with a great big long neck like a crane or an ostrich. In perfect English, the monster said to him, "Where do you keep your garbage?" So Dan just freaked out. Hearing the monster speak to him was too much, and he sprinted for the safety of his barn. But before he got there, the beast caught up to him and wrapped its neck around him like an anaconda. It squeezed and it squeezed, crushing the life out of poor Dan, until he remembered the hatchet that he kept on his belt. He reached down, he grabbed that hatchet, and chop, 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 he started hacking away on the neck. Amazingly, though, he noticed that instead of blood and flesh, he was chopping at bark and splinters. Apparently, the great beast was made of wood. Eventually, though, with enough chopping, he did manage to scare the devil off and wriggled himself free. But before the monster could inflate itself with air and float away like a balloon, Dan got in one last swing. He hit it in the head and cut out its eyeball, just like that. According to Dan, the severed eyeball used to light up at night like an electric lamp, flashing all these different colors and patterns. Isn't it just awesome that the newspapers actually used to publish stories like this from just completely random people? Like any Joe Schmo could write in a crazy Jersey Devil story and it would actually get printed. I'm just so glad they actually put this stuff in the paper. Also, something very interesting to this particular story is the idea that the devil can talk. Because in most of these stories, the devil is basically just some kind of bloodthirsty animal out to kill, right? So it makes it way more interesting when you get stories like this eyeball one where the devil has some kind of intelligence to it, one of the best stories that I found with the intelligent Jersey Devil was from the Washington Post. So the Post, they were running this big story on the big surge of Jersey Devil encounters, and in their article they printed this little letter that they received from a woman in New Jersey. The woman said that an old man from her hometown had once shot the Jersey Devil a long, long time ago. And after he shot the devil, he walked up to it, crouched down next to it, and the devil actually spoke something into his ear. And whatever it was, whatever the devil said, convinced the man that the devil was not a threat to humans, so he decided to let it go, swearing to anyone else who would listen that the Jersey Devil meant no harm to anyone. And now this woman was writing the paper to let everybody know, don't worry about the devil. I promise you, this old guy from my hometown, he said it was cool. He's cool. He's not here to hurt anyone. Don't worry. And I really like these tidbits that create a mythos for the devil beyond just being a wild animal, right? Did you know that a lot of people back then used to think that the Jersey Devil was like a harbinger for war? When the devil started popping up again in 1909, a whole bunch of old timers who had lived in the area for a long time started telling people that the last time the Jersey Devil showed up was in the lead up to the American Civil War. And then the time before that was right before the American Revolution. Isn't that cool? And then even way later, after 1909, that same sentiment would persist enough that when the devil showed up in the 30s, again, people were saying that, oh my God, we must be about to enter another big war, because that's what the Jersey Devil means. But again, most of the accounts weren't all mystical like that. It was mostly just stuff like the Jersey Devil supposedly killing a bulldog, or attacking a chicken coop, or dive bombing an elementary school in front of 40 witnesses and trying to steal a child. That's another totally real article that got printed. Isn't that just amazing? There are just so many of these stories where the devil is just explicitly seen by several people in broad daylight. It's just so crazy to read these in real newspapers. Can you even imagine how terrifying it would be for somebody who actually believes in the Jersey Devil to read this stuff back then? You would never want to leave your house ever again. All the Bigfoot stories you hear are oh, I saw it in some bushes for half a second 200 feet away across a field. And most ghost stories are oh, I kind of saw a bright light and then a door slammed in the basement. But these Jersey Devil stories are I was riding a train and then the devil flew into the window and screeched into my face. And of course, as you might expect, We also got a whole bunch of stories of people like catching or killing the Jersey Devil. You know, all these articles of like some kids finding a weird dead bird in the woods and that's supposed to be the devil, or maybe a circus advertising that they caught the devil, that kind of thing. Ooh, and we also got a whole bunch of scientists and hunters who are coming down to the Pine Barrens trying to track down the creature themselves. Like, at one point, I guess they had hundreds of guys down there walking around in the woods with guns and setting all these traps all over the place. Like, this was a real pervasive thing. People were really trying to find this devil. The most prolific of the hunters looking for the devil, though, was far and away a guy named J.F. Hope, a rare animal dealer who went around telling everyone that the Jersey Devil had actually escaped from his store. Yeah, he was saying that he owned the Jersey Devil and now he was trying to get it back. Like, Hope actually went so far as to put out an ad in the newspaper issuing a $500 reward for anyone who would bring the devil back to him. Like, according to him, the beast was a combination of a bat, a kangaroo, and a pony that he had captured in Australia, and it was super hard to catch, and so now he wants his beast back. It's super rare and valuable, and he needs it. All right, that's all I got. Thanks for watching.